So, so on the last newspaper article, it was funny when Brad and I showed up on the front page, we were both laughing because it was the first service we passed the basket at. We're going to use that. We got $213, and that's going to help go towards siding. And Brad said, I don't think you'll have enough in your basket for siding. And I said, for siding. And I said, that's okay, Brad. I know where to go to borrow money. And we were both laughing about that. So the siding's number one, and eventually the steeple will be number two. And if we increase to 3 special events a year there, that's good because I still work full-time as my husband does. And it doesn't sound like a lot of work, but we do have a lot of rentals and 32 properties, so it keeps us busy with my 2 offices and Mike's supervisor for City St. Louis Electric. So I just want to say thank you tonight for sure to God especially, my husband for his patience and tolerance and encouragement. Brad Vibber, we never could do the things we've done if it hadn't been for Chemical Bank believing in me when I opened my first office and then eventually bought it. We wouldn't be where we're at today. Mount Pleasant Sash and Door Bruce, who owns Mount Pleasant Sash and Door, actually loaned us the carrier, the window carrier off the side of his truck. And so that we could bring this window home. And there was a little bit of leading that loosened on the window and had to be replaced, and he came and did that for us too. Special thanks to our carpenter Phil Stahl and his wife Carolyn, who have been great encouragement, and he's worked with Mike every step of the way on the church. And the guys that Mike works with, and several others besides, all showed up the morning after we got home to carry that window in, which was a big deal. You know, I said to him, we need to have a come to Jesus meeting before you start, because you know, one bump, one drop will totally destroy this $4,500 window, which I already know we got a steal on because I've checked out old windows on the internet and they run 80 or 90,000. So we got a real deal. The window was made in 1888 in Munich, Germany, and shipped to America for the church out there in Scranton. So I also want to say thanks to our relatives, friends, and the past congregation at the church, because they keep encouraging and calling. I get telephone calls from out of state and emails from out of state. How's my old church doing? My mom and dad want to know. We're so glad. We have a lot of people that get in contact with us. Doris Lyon and Terry Bentley have been wonderful. Dick and Helen Hall were our special friends, and Helen died. And after Helen died, Dick sold us a little church that Helen treasured. It was a little white church, just like Pleasant Valley Church. And so after we bought the church, and I used to look at that little church for the last 2-3 years before we bought the big church, and I would cry, remembering my grandmother and wondering about the old church. So I did a little memorial and put a picture of Dick and Helen on the wall in the big church by the little church, which is on display and table in the nursery. And when Dick saw that, he said, I have to give you your money back. We're donating this little church to your big church. And so we had a good cry together. So I also want to thank Phil Hansen for his letting people know when our services are on the internet, because that's been beneficial. I just can't get around to tell enough people. I don't have enough time to do that. So that's really a help. And I don't know, there haven't been a lot of trials and tribulations, Eric. There have been many, many more blessings. We put all new vinyl in the back rooms of the church, which were added on in the 50s. When we bought the church, we got 21 original pews came with it. The piano came with it. The organ came with it. There were like 47 little oak and maple chairs that I used to sit in when I was a little girl in the classroom for the kids. There were big old-fashioned leather chairs. There was just, the one thing there wasn't was everyone who had donated pictures to the church had taken them back into their families. So I had a lot of fun buying brass candle holders and old religious pictures for the church. And cleaning brass candle holders isn't a lot of fun. We had found when we went out to buy the window, I had found in the junk pile out in the basement of the church 2 candelabras with 7 candles on each one. And a couple of the little candle things had been broken off. And I said, what are you doing with these? And they said, we're throwing them away. And I said, can I have them? I'm not proud. And they said, yes, you can. So those were cleaned up, and we have 2 candles to add, and then we have these wonderful candelabras, and I priced them in a catalog that Mrs. Bentley loaned to me, and they were like $5,000 for the 2. So wow. It's pretty amazing. So the church is restored back to original, and I'm putting original in where I can find it. I won't pass this around. I'll leave it up here for you to look at, but this is 1873. I found it at the antique mall out here, and it's wonderful. It's in wonderful shape, and this is the kind of stuff I imagine they used back in the early days at the church. I have a clock in there I had bought for the school originally from 1877. It's a 30-day clock that chimes and has the little thing that goes back and forth, and it's beautiful. And now we've put that in the church because the church is done and the museum and the school won't be ready till probably April. So, but that's a whole other story, that school is. And some wonderful things. After I bought the church, this surfaced. Got it from my second cousin in Florida. And on the inside of it, I cry a lot. I think the older you get, the more you cry. But on the inside of it, it says 1926, and it says Forest Barns. And this was my dad's childhood Bible. Wow. When he went to that church. And it has pictures in it, and postcards. And the postcards were written by my grandmother in 1949 when I was 5. And the pictures are of my grandmother at the same time. And my grandmother was my role model. She went to Mount Pleasant Normal, which was the college, in 1909, and she was a school teacher. And she said education is where we will grow and prosper. And so today I have a master's degree and 35 letters after my name, and I have tried to live out a good legacy for my grandma too. So I can't think of anything I've left out. I have photos here for you. I have a replica that I had made especially for tonight of the church with shiny, so everyone can have a picture of the window if they want one. And I had one for Esther back at Christmas time, but she forgot our service, can you imagine? So I also have one of these for you, Esther, as well as everyone else.
All right, thank you.
And so on that note, I want to thank you, Eric, for calling me and asking me to do this tonight. It was a real honor. And it's a wonderful journey I'm on with this church. I'm learning more about me and more about what's important in life. And I think I need to be humbled. I think it's really, really good for me. And I go back to my AA meetings and I talk about the blessings of my life. And I'm sober 27 years and 2 weeks today by the grace of God. And younger people and people 10, 15, 20 days sober say, you really can do all that? And I say, you really can. If you go to meetings, come to believe in a God that you can understand and help others, you can do anything you want to do because He'll be behind you. And there's a church here locally that has a saying on it, and I love it because it fits me. It says, all saints have a past, and all sinners have a future. And I'm living in my future. So thanks for having me tonight. Thank you.